Okay, so let me start then by introducing Sarah Olben, our Chief Executive, who will give the inaugural event its first address. Sarah.
Thanks, Nick. So yes, as Nick says, welcome to the inaugural stakeholder event, Insolvency Live. And our aim today, as Nick was saying, is to encourage a collaborative relationship with you, our stakeholders. And of course, we do already meet many of you regularly. For example, we have a monthly catch-up with colleagues from R3, as well as ad hoc meetings. But we really saw there's real benefit in having, as I say, a mixed group of you here today to talk to us and to talk to each other, and we really hope it works well. I hope you find this afternoon a useful opportunity to hear from some of our team, to ask questions and to give us feedback. I've been in post as Chief Executive for over a year now, and I want to thank all of those that I've met during this time for the warm welcome that you've shown me. We just published our annual report, and as we drafted it, I reflected on what a busy year it's been. We're now at the forefront of the government's digital by default agenda after moving 3 of our key services online. We took on a very high-profile and complex corporate insolvencies, such as the SSI plant in Redcar and the Keeping Kids Company charity here in London. And we've continued to transform how we deliver our services by introducing more efficient ways to do our work and to reduce our cost base. And I'll touch further on those achievements later on in this address. But our goal is to deliver confidence in the marketplace. And we do this through supporting those in financial distress, tackling financial wrongdoing, and by seeking to maximise return to creditors. To achieve these objectives, we recognise that we need to work in partnership with you. We're proud to provide an insolvency regime which is highly regarded globally. Last year, we continued to deliver high-quality services, meeting the majority of our targets and achieving high levels of customer satisfaction. As you're all aware, insolvencies have continued to fall, and we've reduced staff numbers, recognising the reduction in cases we handle, but that means that the level of work that we do handle remains challenging for our staff. We dealt with just over 15,000 new bankruptcies last year, and we made nearly 25,000 debt relief orders. Changes were made to the threshold for DROs in October to give a wider access to this simple and cheap solution. And the early evidence has shown us that changes are enabling more people living with unsustainable personal debt to obtain debt relief. Also in October, the petition level for creditor bankruptcies was raised for the first time since 1986. The new £5,000 minimum debt level will ensure bankruptcy is used proportionately. Last year, we also dealt with 2,794 new insolvent companies. Acting as trustee and liquidator, we distributed over £33 million to creditors, and our estate account services dealt with over 110,000 payments from the insolvency service account, processing 94% of these within 2 days of requisition. The work that our investigation and enforcement teams do to tackle individuals and companies who act against the public interest helps to retain confidence that Britain is a great place to do business. For example, you'll know that the previous Secretary of State asked us to fast-track our investigation into the failure of BHS. We're currently devoting some 10% of our investigative resource to this case alone, and we've retained specialist senior counsel, specialist forensic accountancy advice, and have acquired specialist IT equipment to deal with the high volume of electronic data. It's a complex investigation with well in excess of 1 million documents to be examined, dozens of individuals to be interviewed, and the information that we've received from the administrators to be considered. Last year, we disqualified just over 1,200 directors and made 483 criminal referrals to prosecuting authorities. The average length of disqualification undertakings and orders secured against directors was 6 years, with 10% disqualified for 10 years or more, showing, I think, that we're prepared to tackle the most serious cases of misconduct. We estimate that the net benefit to the market for each director disqualified is worth over £100,000 in terms of creditor damage prevented. We also wound up 131 companies in the public interest, and investigation of 103 investment and other scams wound up in the public interest showed that at least £195 million had been taken from victims, and that our interventions prevented the loss of a further £228 million. Last year, we also introduced online applications for redundancy payments. We managed over 60,000 claims and exceeded our processing targets. Over the course of the coming year, we expect to be just as busy. Our annual plan, laid recently in Parliament, identifies 4 key themes: operational processes, a focus on our customers, developing our people, and ensuring that we have robust funding and support functions. We continue to measure our performance against ministerial targets and have deliberately set ourselves a stretching range of new targets for the coming year. As the government implements the decision of the British people to leave the European Union, we have also an important role to ensure that insolvency issues are fully considered. We know that the profession are involved in a substantial number of cross-border insolvency cases every year. As the Prime Minister has stated, for now it's business as usual, but going forward this is very much on our radar. Next year, the United Kingdom will host the annual conference of the International Association of Insolvency Regulators here in London, bringing together officials from around 30 countries, including Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, Malaysia and Canada. Our regime is widely respected around the world, and the conference will provide an opportunity to exchange information about how other nations are reforming their insolvency systems. We're looking at our current operating model to see how we can further increase our own efficiency and effectiveness. Some examples of the work that we have in mind here are improving the efficiency of our payment to creditor process. We're adopting a new expedited approach to investigations, initiating disqualification undertakings at the earliest possible point, whilst being consistent with fair treatment to individuals. This will increase our investigator capacity and benefit the economy by minimising harm from rogue directors. We're going to introduce an expanded customer satisfaction survey to help us better understand what our customers want from us and to evaluate their experiences of our services. We're implementing a new process to deal with complaints received by the service. This is going to increase our accountability and better capture lessons to be learnt in our continuing improvement. And we will continue with the rewrite of our guidance to customers, using plain language and moving this information to gov.uk, where it can be more easily found via search engines. Nurturing our people is central to driving improvements in our performance, and we'll be reassessing our workforce strategy, addressing talent development, reward and recognition, increasing apprenticeships and focusing on increasing staff engagement. Delivering our objectives within the funding envelope of the 2015 to 20 spending review will be a challenge. We've already made a significant effort to become more efficient, with a 36% reduction in our cost base since 2010-11, but we do have more work to do. Last week we introduced a new fee structure. Following a joint review with the Treasury, we have an obligation to fully cover our costs and for costs to fall on those who use our services. The new system is far more transparent and reduces the cross-subsidy between cases with assets and those without. We can't refuse to take on cases, even those without any assets. So while we are trying to reduce the cross-subsidy, it's simply not possible to eliminate it entirely. Rebalancing fees in this way will give a fairer recovery of costs across cases. Creditors and debtors will know upfront what it will cost both to initiate insolvency and to have it administered either by the official receiver or by an insolvency practitioner. But I do want to clear up one really important misunderstanding about the new system. There's been some sense that the official receiver might seek to remain in office as trustee or liquidator against the wishes of creditors. And we respect absolutely the right of the majority of creditors to appoint whoever they wish to handle the case, and that won't change. One of our biggest achievements over the past year has been the successful launch of our new digital service. Online services not only help us to better meet customers' needs, they also bring opportunities for increased value for money. All the services have been designed using comprehensive testing with users to ensure that they are easy to use. And I'm grateful to those of you here who helped to road test the new applications. We truly couldn't have launched them without your help. And a really good example, I think, of collaborative working. And we will continue to make improvements to them, so please continue to give us your feedback. Our services are high-profile digital projects. The new online redundancy claim service was one of the government digital services' 25 exemplar projects. It was part of the move generally across government to adopt a digital by default. Online applications for bankruptcy began in April, and these are now considered in-house by an adjudicator, Liz, who's here with us today, an employee of the service. The service is available to applicants 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and we aim to make orders within 2 working days of the application being submitted. The new service has received really positive feedback, with 78% saying that they are satisfied with the service. 9 in 10 say that they are pleased to be able to apply online. And we know that for many people, the process of going to court to petition for bankruptcy was daunting. For some of them, it put them off applying for what would otherwise be the best personal debt solution for them. Personal and corporate insolvency statistics from April to June were released just this morning. The number of personal insolvencies has increased for the 4th consecutive quarter, driven really by an increase in IVAs. It's too early to discern whether or not the change to online applications for bankruptcy has led to a change in the number of people applying. But we can now say that the change to DROs last year has led more people to use this debt solution. So it will be interesting to see if moving bankruptcy from the court to online makes it more accessible, as we hope that it will. Of course, it's not our role to advise people whether or not bankruptcy or an IVA or any other debt solution is right for them. But we do hope that the simple-to-use new online process will break down stigma that can prevent some people from seeking bankruptcy as a debt solution worth considering. We've also overhauled the Director Conduct D reports that insolvency practitioners file with us. Reports are now filed online, simplifying the process for IPs with a single online return. Online applications also improve the consistency of information reported to us. This in turn enables us to speed up our decision about whether or not to take enforcement action against directors. The service will be used by approximately 1,000 IPs who are active appointment takers and their staff, and also the service's official receivers and their staff. We expect to receive approximately 15,000 reports this year. And we're going to continue to look at which other of our services could be moved online. In September, we hope to launch an improved tool for intermediaries to submit debt relief order applications. The current tool was introduced in 2009, and we know it can be difficult to use. The new tool, accessible from gov.uk, promises to be easier and quicker for you to use. Another big job, now nearing completion, was the introduction of the new and modernised set of consolidated insolvency rules. We've been through a very long and detailed consultation process on the modernised rules with you, our key stakeholders on the Insolvency Rules Committee. The need to modernise, consolidate and make consistent the insolvency rules was first identified in 2013 as part of the government's red tape challenge to simplify and to remove unnecessary regulations, to lower the cost of compliance, and indeed we estimate that the rules will deliver a saving of some £22 million to business each year. We're very nearly there now and are going through the final stages of validation. For a document of over 400 pages of technical, detailed rules, it's a time-consuming but vital job. We've listened to your feedback on how much lead time you need to prepare your systems and train your staff. And our current intention, subject to ministerial approval, is to make the rules this autumn for commencement in April 2017, giving a clear 6 months preparation time. There is an opportunity in the policy workshop, which, as Nick has said, is completely subscribed now, but if you're already booked on it, then you'll be able to take advantage of this later today to discuss with us how we can help to ensure that you are ready for commencement. I want to finish by looking really quite quickly at 2 very high-profile insolvencies that we've recently taken on and what we've learned from that experience. The SSI steel plant in Redcar was easily the biggest and most complex case we've ever handled, and the children's charity Keeping Kids Company was probably one of the most high-profile that we've ever managed. Both cases were challenging for us. The official receiver had only 2 hours' notice of the application to court to wind up SSI, and there was no direct engagement with the OR by the company's directors, who were all foreign nationals. We took over a 16-square-mile sensitive site with in excess of 500 buildings and more than 2,000 employees. Coke ovens that had to be kept working for safety reasons, an operating power station, and a blast furnace that needed to be kept in a steady state while we attempted to find a buyer. There was also a big challenge here for the redundancy payment service to ensure that employees received what was owed to them. All the more so because this was the first major test of the online redundancy payments applications, which had only been fully launched the previous month. There was enormous local interest. The plant had a major effect on the local community, and as I'm sure you're aware, there was huge political and press interest as well. We're still heavily involved in the management of the site and keeping it safe. Whilst we now come, we hope, towards the end of that process for us. We also took on the liquidation of Keeping Kids Company, following a winding up petition presented by the company itself. That company operated from 17 different premises, directly employed over 500 staff, and contracted with another 850 people. There was a considerable challenge in dealing with and getting in sensitive records, and with a high volume of company third-party assets. It's well known that the company had recently received significant funding from government, and that funding was subject of interest of parliamentary select committees. Again, there was an enormous amount of press interest. We've been taking stock to learn the lessons for similar complex or high-profile liquidations that may come our way in the future. What both these cases demonstrated was that the official receiver has the expertise and capacity to step in at very short notice and handle complex liquidations, but they've also made really clear to us the importance of teamwork. We made use of special managers and external legal support from the very beginning in SSI, and the case simply could not have been conducted anywhere near as effectively without the hugely important contributions that those individuals and teams made and the close working relationships that we formed. Both cases presented major funding challenges for us to ensure that they were kept running while being run down safely. It's been important to stress the independence of the official receiver as an office holder. The OR doesn't hold a position as liquidator as a civil servant, and we've been very keen to ensure that that distinction is respected. But as a government department, the Insolvency Service has a critical role in liaising closely with other parts of government and public authorities where appropriate, and in keeping ministers informed of what is going on in a case. It's clear that wherever possible, early meaningful involvement in discussions ahead of high-profile liquidations will be very important. That's just a very, very brief run-through of the challenges we've faced. I believe the insolvency regime works best where we collaborate effectively with our key stakeholders. Before we begin the afternoon's agenda, I'd like to thank you all for coming and hope that you'll find the sessions interesting and useful. I'd also like to thank my team for organising the event, and particularly the senior management team and the Insolvency Service Board for your ongoing support and expertise. Finally, although it may seem a little belated, it's the first opportunity I've had to say publicly how delighted I was that David Herrera, our chairman, was recognised in the New Year's Honours List and awarded an OBE for his service both to insolvency and to charity. So thank you very much. I hope you all enjoy this afternoon.